Good morning and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Amanda from CCIQ and I'll be your facilitator for today. Joining me is Andrew Taylor, Services Support Officer here at CCIQ. Today's webinar topic is on tendering tips and advice. Throughout the tender application process, there are multiple things that your business can do to ensure that you're in the best possible position to win the tendering contract. And today, Andrew is going to talk about the most common mistakes made in the tender process and how to understand the key policy requirements and what government are looking for. So if you do want to ask Andrew a question, you can do so at any time using that chat box that appears on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, and we'll ask them at the end if they come through. I'll now hand you over to Andrew to kick off today's presentation.
Hey, thanks Amanda, and welcome everyone. As Amanda said, my name's Andrew. I'm just going to take you through some of the top tips and advice about tendering and maybe perhaps open your eyes as why you didn't win that contract. So today we're going to cover topics and hints that might help you understand how to win and perhaps why you didn't win a government contract during a tendering process. The information we will cover is from years of experience working closely with government and also learnings taken from recent updates to policy and schedules. For detailed advice and support, members can call us anytime. Today we're going to cover the common mistakes made through the tendering process, how best practice human resources can assist with winning more contracts, taking advantage of pre-populated contracts within Business Ready QAssure, understanding the key policy requirements, and what support and resources are available, and how to get the most out of these. I've seen that there are a few attendees who are not registered with Business Ready QAssure, so I'm just going to quickly outline what Business Ready QAssure is all about. QAssure is a membership for the IT community with specialised benefits that help your business survive in the current climate. We help get your business ready to work with government, get you noticed and in front of procurement officers. As a member, you are set up to win, and today's topics will cover the ICT sector's membership, Business Ready QAssure, and the HR support and advice included with it. So how can you benefit as a member of Business Ready QAssure? We're the largest ICT supplier network in Queensland with a mix of government and private industry users. It's the best way to get noticed. Accreditation. We perform the due diligence on your business that is required by the QITC framework. This accreditation will help you in the application process, putting you at the top of the pile with a government trusted process. Government procurement officers will also be able to ask for your Business Ready QAssure number and then log in and check your accreditation is up to date, making their job easier in selecting the winning tender. We're informing you of procurement processes in our How To event series. Our How To series puts you face to face with government procurement officers and help demystify the procurement process. All members receive an invitation to these events and their key staff to attend. Listing your business capabilities for exposure to the entire market. Your public profile is key resource to being found by an ICT customer, and having your business capabilities up to date, displayed, will help potential customers find when searching. Easier contact creation, saving you time and reducing red tape. With built-in auto-populated general and comprehensive contracts, now you can easily start these, saving you time and duplication. Support and resources. Resources such as pre-filled templates, a weekly national tender notification, and help desk support makes it easier to discover the world of QITC and Business Ready QAssure. And HR support and advice. An important aspect for any business, we're helping get small businesses the HR support that big business already has. Now for today's topic, our top tips when tendering. Once you are pre-qualified with Business Ready QA4, you are now ready to tender. You will be listed on the Find Supplier page for all to see, and you're going to start to receive the National Tender Notification Service. This key resource that you can see on this slide will help notify you of when a tender has been released. When a tender comes out that you're interested in, it's important to follow the unwritten rules and cover some of the basic must-dos, which we'll cover within the next few slides. But first of all, what does a typical tender look like and what do you need to do? So tenders are released on numerous websites and platforms, and they all take different format. However, they all require that they give you the key information and instructions on what to do. So section 1, tender overview. This is going to give you an overview and the best first indication if you are suitable for this tender. In section 2 are some contact details. This is a chance to build those relationships and ask the important questions of government procurement officers. This is also a great way to highlight your interest in this tender and let them know that you will be tendering. Section 3 has all the details. In this section, you're going to have all the documents required to deep dive into this tender, including any timelines, milestones expected, the evaluation criteria, and how to respond. And in section 4 is going to be how they want you to submit your tender. Once you have finished, you're then going to be asked to submit this tender response in a format they require, usually electronically. Any documents I've asked you to fill out will need to go in this step. So now that we know what's in a tender, let's go get the tips and advice that we want to provide. So tip number 1 is ensure you're ready. We of course recommend becoming pre-qualified through Business Ready QAssure to make sure that you meet all the minimum requirements to work with government and show government users that you are ready to work with them and that you can be found. You also need to make sure you have all the advantages of the big players, such as concrete HR and social policies, getting additional weighting when tendering through such things as an Indigenous business, a regional business, or even small businesses. As we'll see in the next slides, being based or headquartered in a regional centre can give you 15 to 20% weighting that will increase your chances of winning that contract. You can also receive up to 10% weighting when highlighting that you're an SME. HR policies are key to success in any business. And when working with government, covering all your bases is key. Your membership with Business Ready QAssure can include HR phone advice anytime you need help, as well as up-to-date policies to help your business succeed. On screen, there's some of the guidelines to help you to the importance of having these policies in place. The local benefits tests. The Queensland procurement policy requires agencies to conduct a local benefits test for all significant procurement activities, where a weighting of up to 30% may be applied. For example, the Gold Coast City Council have the following weightings when evaluating a tender response. As you can see, 15% weighting if you are headquartered on the Gold Coast. That weighting does reduce for branch offices on the Gold Coast, in the adjacent areas, in Queensland in general, or if it's an Australian business. This shows how important it is to highlight the right information during your tender, and knowing what to include at the start will increase your chances of success. Understanding what government is looking for, getting ready before you start to tender, and making sure that you are well positioned to win that contract. Tip 2, plan your response. I know this sounds simple, but planning your response and giving yourself enough time is one of the most common reasons of a winning tender. Subpar tender applications is usually because of lack of time and mainly running out of the planning phase. Plan early, get your team, however small, in line with critical dates that need to be met. Make sure you are ready to highlight the mandatory and key information that you need. In 2018, there were numerous tenders that were offered with no applications even submitted. And this could have been because the applicant ran out of time. And imagine if they did submit, they could have possibly won being the only applicant. Making sure that we get as many applications as possible for all government tenders is the key to helping SMEs win those contracts. Tip 3, is it mandatory? When completing your application, it's important to note the variety of ways that a field can be marked as mandatory for completion. It's important to understand that the tender has been through many processes to be released, which means the information contained and the information requested have a lot of thought put into it. Please always include all mandatory information, as well as the information that could be mandatory. Such common keywords as must, will, and shall, as well as helpfully highlighting what sets you apart from other applicants. While having the mandatory and the most information in your tender is important, don't embellish and over elaborate and put more information just for the sake of it. So tip 4 is evaluation criteria. Every tender is evaluated and they do specify how. We have previously touched on some of the additional weightings that you can achieve when applying for a tender, such as the location of the business, the local benefits test, having up-to-date human resources and social inclusion policies, the social procurement policies, as well as SME business weighting. There are many other evaluation factors to focus on, such as price, upfront costs, customer engagement, timeframes of the tender, sustainable impacts, quality of the product, and many others. Weightings will not always be revealed, so all factors are equally important in this case and should be focused on in your response. If what you write doesn't relate to the tender, it's not going to receive a score. Ensure that your responses are relevant and on point. So tip 5, answering all the questions. This one sounds like a no-brainer, but it is a common mistake for new entities responding to tenders. All questions must be answered. If it is not applicable to you, then please state this in the response. And remember, as in the last slides, all questions are important, so answer them this way. Even if you are repeating the answer, this will go before numerous different people who may not have read the other part of your application. Tip 6, be succinct. These 4 key tips are the key to properly engaging with the government in all responses. With the government, as all responses need to be read and reread by procurement officers and associated representatives. When completing your application, get to the point quickly and as efficiently as possible. No long-winded answers to try and make it sound better than it is. Keep your writing clear and concise, and make your application engaging and easy to read. Only use extended amounts of details when necessary, and use conversational, normal language that is relevant to the business or the tender and industry. And try to avoid jargon that is not, and try to avoid complicated jargon, as not all procurement officers will understand the tech talk that you may use. Tip 7, customer focused. When writing your response, keep the customer in mind. So try and focus on what your business can do for the customer, not just what your business can do. Always follow the format that has been provided and ensure that you return all forms that were supplied to help the evaluation process. Making it easier for the customer, the government department, to evaluate your application is key to winning. And also Quantify the benefits of your offer in terms of what they really offer the customer. An example is a 25% increase in fuel efficiency using this engine. This will help in any decision being made. Tip number 8, value for money. Value for money is an important factor when evaluating your response. When evaluating your response, procurement officers will also look at several non-price factors. These include cost factors such as upfront price, the whole of the life costs and ongoing costs, transitional costs associated with acquisition, use, holding and maintenance of information, and the disposal of such information. Non-cost factors, which include fit for purpose, the quality of the product, delivering on time, service support and additional resources, and sustainability impacts. So while looking just at the value of the value of the total project costs, there are many other factors to take into account, and highlighting these during your application is quite important. Now, tip number 9, don't assume knowledge or prior experience when writing your response. The person assessing your tender response may have no prior knowledge of your business. Write your tender application and create your response based on this. So include information in every response. If you have a previous track record of working with a buyer, always include this within your tender response. Not everyone will know your history. Your track record will be assessed when you raise it yourself. Don't be shy. This is your chance to show that you're the best applicant. Don't assume any knowledge. Make sure you write everything they need in your application and also highlighting your business strengths. Tip number 10, review. It's now time to go back to the start and make sure that you have covered everything, that you have all the required documents and forms, and that you have put your best foot forward. Ensure that you remove any typos or grammar errors. Example, form instead of from. This will make your application look less professional. Ensure that you have met all mandatory requirements and addressed all of the evaluation criteria as accurately and as efficiently as possible. And even better, have another person review from within your business. The more set of eyes that look at your application, the better. This will help polish and finish your application. And after planning this process at the start, you should have allowed enough time to perform this step. Tip number 11, be visible. So ensure that your business is pre-qualified through Business Ready CureSure. This gets you listed on curesure.com.au as a trusted ICT supplier. Update and refine your online presence, including social media. Government buyers will be searching your businesses online, and having a strong and reputable online presence could increase the trust of your brand. Your website should reflect your business core values and policies, including any HR and social inclusion policies. State these as part of your business. Make sure that your website is user-friendly across all devices, tablets, mobile, and different desktop devices. A bad user experience may reflect badly on your company, especially in this tech-focused sector. Your website should also reinforce your tender response. Making sure that your website states what you do in line with the tender that you're applying for is key. Now, after all of this, you should be ready to respond to any tender that you are qualified for. Keep an eye out for our tender notifications for any tender that you want to apply for. One of the first steps in this process is joining Business Ready CureSure and getting pre-qualified and listed as a trusted supplier. For those new to this process, We have 2 membership levels for you to choose from. Our SME level, which is the basic accreditation and listing, getting you pre-qualified and listed on qasure.com.au. And our enterprise level, a premium membership, which covers all of your SME level accreditation and listings, but with the added support of CCRQ's HR advice and all of your up-to-date policies. You can go to qasure.com.au and start this process, or please feel free to give me a call on 1300 731 988 after this webinar, and I'm going to be available to chat. So what can you do now? Are you a trusted supplier? Join BRQ today. Have you considered all of these tips for your next tender response? Is your application as accurate as possible? Is all mandatory information supplied? Have you prepared for the additional weighting that you can receive? Do you need more advice or support? Please feel free to give us a call after this webinar. So they are my top tips for when you're tendering for government tenders. If you do have any more questions, please ask them here or feel free to get in contact afterwards. I'm going to pass everyone back to Amanda. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Some really helpful tips there. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We do have another webinar coming up on the 13th of August, and it's around HR compliance within the ICT industry. Andrew will be speaking again, and we'll also be joined by one of our industrial relations specialists. So it'd be really handy information on that one as well. So we'll send out an email later today. We'll have a link to the webinar recording and the presentation slides as well as the next webinar. But for now, enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to have you again next time. Thank you.